Rise and Energize Her Morning Show is brought to you by Mogul TV Global Network, the #1 streaming TV network for positive programming in the Mid-Atlantic. To learn how you can energize your business and brand with media, visit www.themogulchannel.com.
Run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year.
Calling all authors. Take your book beyond the book launch. Amplify your reach, boost your sales, and become the author everyone is talking about. We are celebrating phenomenal authors throughout the month of November 2024. So what are you waiting for? Unleash your book's power by scanning the QR code or going to the site on your screen. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Tameka Chapman, and I am so excited to bring to you today an amazing lady, a phenomenal lady with an amazing story to tell, but also we're here to share something really, really important. And at the time of, in the time of life of where we are now, today's conversation is a total fit. So I want you all to stay tuned. I want you all to get ready to engage with us. I want you all to make sure that you get ready to support what it is that we're bringing to you today. So I am going to welcome on Miss Carteia Basnight, Esquire. Okay.
Hello,
Hi, Carteia. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Listen, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time, your energy, and your dedication to having this conversation today. Before we get into what the conversation is all about, I really want to give the audience a chance to get to know you. So we're going to do a couple of questions that's going to allow us to learn more about Miss Carteia, okay? Miss Basnight. So Carteia, please tell us a little bit about you. And if you don't know, Esquire means attorney. So your journey to becoming an attorney and what inspired you to become an attorney?
Okay, so I get this question a lot, actually, and I knew that I wanted to be an attorney since the age of 4. I honestly cannot pinpoint where that desire came from. I just knew that at 4, I wanted to be an attorney, and I never wavered from that desire. I've never changed my mind. And so just moving through life, I just made decisions that would, help me become closer to realizing that goal, taking classes and, being introduced to the legal field and trying to just glean mentors and anyone that I could to help me along the journey, not just the final journey. Okay, you become an attorney, but okay, what do I need to do as far as undergraduate school? What do I need to do to get into law school? What does that process look like? And so I've really been blessed to have people at every stage of this journey to be there to, give me advice and just, help me move it along.
I love that. One of the things I do know about, when we are in our careers, having a mentor is like vital, right? Having a great mentor that don't mind speaking life into you and don't mind giving you guidance based on their own experience and expertise is going to help you, one, be successful in your career, but also give you that longevity in the career field that you chose. So when we speak about mentorship, I think you just mentioned mentor, right? How has a mentorship helped you and shaped your career as an attorney?
It has, I would say, fast forwarded or jump started or quantum leaped my career for terms that just come to mind. And so I've had mentors throughout, and then coming into the legal field, I would say one of my most, I could say, prominent or influential mentors have been, actually it's two, it's Allison Wells. She was actually my professor in undergraduate, and she helped all the way through the process of law school, after law school, and now we actually, do cases together. So she has been a huge mentor in teaching you, or teaching me and us, because it's actually a group of us that graduated from Norfolk State University, and we all are attorneys, and just teaching us everything that the law school or the books don't teach you. And so having that extra comfort to know that you have somebody you can ask questions to. And after Allison, who I still talk to regularly, I was introduced to a lady by the name of Verbena Askew. And she was really an influence in the actual, day-to-day practice of law. I had office space with her for a while in the beginning of my practice, and just being next to someone who was so brilliant, who had been doing this for many, many, many years, not spinning the wheel trying to find out what to do, but literally having a human being right there to answer questions, to advise you, to help you with cases, to even allow you to try, cases with her. It just helped to really quantum leap where I was in my career, because it's very different when you're trying to figure it out on your own. And there were some things I still just, had to figure out from practicing, but just having that sense of comfort and having that sense of cushion, knowing that, hey, this is someone who, no matter how silly the question may seem, or how, for lack of a better term, juvenile, when you're a new attorney, some things you just don't know, and some things the law books didn't teach us. But just being able to say, hey, I'm going to be, trying this case, or I have this, what are your suggestions? And then for her to just be able to spit out an outline or blueprint from A to Z was just amazing.
I love that. I love that. And the way that you just so eloquently spelled that out when it comes to mentoring, having a mentor is vital, but also you are now in a position of mentoring others, right? And so I'm going to say that I know that from all that has been poured into you and how you operate in your business, you're going to be just as amazing as a mentor, and you're just as amazing as a mentor to the young lawyers that are coming up, those who may still be in law school that are looking for guidance. You are definitely a standout attorney. Can we just put that out there, okay? So,
and Tameka, let me tell you, it's one of the most rewarding things that I do on a day-to-day. We run a consistent internship program for undergraduates.
Awesome.
And those in law school. But when I tell you, it's so rewarding, because it's like, I wish I would have known this at this stage. I wish I would have known this at this stage. I wish I, could have, if I had to redo anything, it would be X, Y, and Z. And so one, to be able to give encouragement, to be able to give steps and guidelines and knowledge to those who are, embarking on this journey, I find it very rewarding. And when I tell you I put my heart and soul into mentorship, I really do. And I enjoy every single moment of it, knowing where they're starting and where they intend to be an end. And we've had multiple interns here in the office that are now, I think we have one that's a 3L, two that's in their second year, and some that are just started. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
I love that. I love it. Give back is always so much more rewarding, right? Because you're not at a position, and not to go off rails, but that moment that we get to do something, right? It's not that we have to do it, but we have the honor that we get to do it, which is absolutely amazing. And you're going to be blessed 10 times even more because of all of the dedication that you are giving to those that you are mentoring as well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that. That's amazing. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the book, right? The book that you all saw that when we first began, Stop Discrimination Now. the guide to employee rights and remedies. This book is Ms. Basnight's book. Okay, Stop Discrimination Now. Make sure you go get your copy. Y'all see that, all right? However, let's talk a bit about it. What inspired you to want to share the guide to employee rights and remedies?
I think seeing individuals very close to me experience discrimination in the workplace, I think triggered the area of law that I wanted to kind of focus on. So even though I always knew I wanted to be an attorney, I did not know like what area really interested me or, you know, that I would take on the most. And I think seeing individuals experience discrimination and not knowing what to do or not having, you know, real recourse, just inspired me to want to learn more about this body of law and then help those who often feel helpless or just don't know what to do. And then coming into practice, you see things and it's like, yes, we want to help everybody, you know, oh, we want to change the world. And then it's like, okay, but these are the things that you need to do. These are the steps that you need to take in order to actually make that change. There are laws that are already in place. And there's elements that you have to meet. There's certain protocol that you have to take in order to bring a discrimination case. And I think seeing people just being lost and coming to their attorney's office with not the right documentation or having taken the proper steps to preserve a viable action is really what inspired me to write the book.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's amazing because I know that there are so many people I've seen, so many people, I've been around so many people, and I've also experienced employment discrimination as well, you know, throughout the years. And so with that, I believe that you doing what it is that you're doing in employment law is a great service to those who need it. And, you know, I would hope that eventually we get to a point where, I'm not trying to talk you out of a job and all, but get to a point where we don't have to fight so hard just to have a job, right? So
Exactly.
with that, what type of discrimination is like the most types, you know, the most cases that you've seen? So you're operating here in Virginia, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So what is the most the type of discrimination that is the most that you've seen in cases? Am I wording that right?
I understand your question. You said it absolutely correctly. I kind of see it equally across the board. If I had to choose one over the other, unfortunately, it's probably going to be race discrimination. After that, I'm going to say gender, and then so forth and so on. And so we get a lot of those cases in this office. My colleagues that also practice in the employment law area, they get a lot of racial discrimination cases as well. But gender is right up there. And then in some other areas, you know, it's equal pay and as well as the ABA, people, you know, having disabilities and feel like they're not being treated fairly. So we see a lot of each, but again, if I had to pick one, I would say racial discrimination.
Awesome. Okay, good to know. Now we'll ask you, you know, you're dealing with people who are fighting for their jobs. They're, you know, having a lot of conflict potentially in the workplace. And I know that it has to have an impact on their mental.
Yes.
So how do you navigate those mental wellness waters when you're dealing with your clients, when you're, you know, helping your clients?
So sometimes by the time the client gets here, they have endured the day-to-day acts of what they may believe are discriminatory acts. And so sometimes by the time they get here, they're so mentally overwhelmed that when they talk to an attorney who gets it, even if I tell them, hey, you know, I do see discrimination here, but for X, Y, and Z reasons, whether it's you don't meet one of the elements over all of them, I don't think this is going to be a viable claim. It still gives them a sense of calm and peace to know, okay, somebody gets it, somebody sees this, somebody is at least listening to me. Right. And what I do tell them is you have to protect your mental health. And if you thought that enduring it during the work time was something, now you're about to enter into a legal battle. You're going to have to strengthen your mental 10 times more, because it's not going to be a walk in the park. And so I tell my clients to breathe, to calm down, to know that I am here to hear your story. I'm going to be honest with you. If I don't think it's going to be a viable claim, I'm going to tell you that, but I'm going to listen to you. And sometimes just being able to talk to someone who gets it or who understands it, or help you put the pieces together, it helps them, give them a sense of calm. But I tell them going to work is equal to almost living in your home. We are at work these days just as much as we are at home. And so you don't want to be in an environment at home where there's always tension. You have to walk on eggshells. You feel like you're being mistreated. Just imagine going to a tense home every day and having to do that at work. So I tell them, you have to find a way, whether it's meditation, exercise, seeing somebody like a therapist, talking to someone, whether it's church, you have to find something where you are not consumed with this day in and day out to the point you're so mentally drained that you can't even help me help you because you can't participate in your case.
Wow. Wow. I love that. Help me help you. Okay. And, you know, I think that's great advice for someone who's mentally just drained from the fight, from having to, you know, get themselves up in the morning to go into a workplace knowing and really feeling that, you know, I gotta put on this armor because I'm getting ready to go in a battle every time I step through this door. So it becomes a lot. It can sometimes become overwhelming from them. Have you ever had clients who started a case and because of all of the conflict that may have sometimes gotten a little worse because, you know, the case has been, it's been escalated, decided that they're no longer going to pursue a case?
No, I can honestly say in my years of practice, I've never had anyone withdraw or not want or not pursue the claim because they feel so overwhelmed. We do a good job of saying, hey, you hired us for a reason. You brought us alongside for a reason. We are here to help you. Do you want to fight? Do you want to try to make change? Again, if we get into the case and I say, hey, you know, after discovery or after, you know, receiving more information, this is just not going to be a viable claim, and the pros to withdraw outweigh the cons to continue, if that makes sense. And so typically we encourage our clients, we let them know that we hear them, we see them, and we are here to walk you through this process to the best of our ability, although we cannot make any, you know, guarantees of the outcome. And what we do see oftentimes is clients will say all the time, Ms. Basnight, thank you so much. Thank your staff so much. You just calm me. And there's times where we have to have these conversations 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 times in a case. And I tell my staff, and if I bring another attorney to work with me, like, hey, we have to be patient with this client, but also we can't allow their emotions to overwhelm us, where we spend more time talking about the emotion than the actual case. And sometimes you got to say, hey, listen, we are in a fight. Are we going to fight, or are you ready to withdraw? Because now we're in it and we have to produce, and we're doing this, you know, for a reason. And so I had a client even recently, I mean, the anxiety that she was experiencing in the workplace, and then even having to meet with me to talk about it, would take so long to get through certain parts of the case because of the mental overwhelming. And one day I told her, I said, listen, I'm here for you. I don't mind listening to you. But at this stage, we have to focus on the law and the law only. We have to make sure that we can at least make a viable claim and meet our burden of proof. So we got to get it together. What is it that you need to do? Do you need to take a walk? Did you need to go see a therapist? What do you need to do so that we can be in this fight together? And I said, let's take a break and let's, you know, do this, the stage that we were at, let's do it tomorrow. She got home and emailed me. She was like, you know what? Thank you for that stern, tough talk. I am ready. Can I come back tonight and we finish this? So I think it's one of those things where I see that type of behavior more than I see, you know, people just simply quitting because it is so overwhelming. And that's one of the parts of being an attorney is, yes, you have to focus on the law, but you have to understand your client is a human being too. And they are experiencing something. They came to you for a reason. And so we're counselors for a reason. And all the time, it's just not counselor of law. sometimes we're being the counselor of a mental breakdown as well.
Right, right. I love that. I love that. One, you have a heart, you know, because I've come across I've come across some attorneys like, yeah, no, this is what it is. No, don't talk to me about anything else if it's not about the case. So I love that you have a heart for one, you hear it, and you address it like, okay, let's address that, because at this point we have to move forward, right?
Absolutely.
So I love that. Now, I want to ask you some questions about Title VII employment law, right? Over the years, have you seen an evolving of Title VII? Have you seen any and how it has gone from one to the next? And are the benefits for employees, have they evolved as well?
So I do believe that over time, there have been some decisions and changes that have come down that have the ability to give employees a little bit more latitude in what is covered under certain acts, what's covered under certain elements. But for the most part, the basis of Title VII is the basis of Title VII. And so to this day, you still have to prove, you know, all of those elements. But I have seen where cases have come down where it seems like it's given the employee more of an opportunity to use other factors to kind of tie in and prove what they believe the discriminatory act was.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that's good to know. Now, what advice would you give an employee? You know, I know one of the things in your book is about documentation, right? Outside of documentation, what advice would you give to employees that may feel like they're facing some kind of discrimination, but they can't really put, you know, a word to it just yet, or they're not too sure of exactly, is this discrimination? Are they able to do this to me? Is this okay? Like, what is your advice for someone in that situation?
So I tell employees all the time, read your employee handbook. I know sometimes when you're getting hired, you get them, you know, you never look at it again. But I tell employees to make sure you understand your employee handbook and how your job or your employer defines certain things. Make sure you understand their processes. So even though it's covered under the law, and the law is very clear and unambiguous about about discrimination, if you don't know the law, if you don't even know the basis of where do you report if you feel like you're being discriminated against, what are the steps, then, you know, knowing the law is really not even going to help you. So I tell people, start there. Know your employer, know what is allowed and what is not allowed. Secondly, I would try to look at some body of law. And we're not expecting people to go out here and do research and be an attorney. But, you know, for what it's worth, Google can put out very good information. And so researching if the act that you believe is discriminatory, is it really discriminatory? Because something can feel like discrimination. And even if you know you're being treated differently, or you're being treated funny, or something is off, it does not always amount to define discrimination. And so that's another thing that we tell people. And if you're not sure, call an attorney. Hey, this is very new. This just happened. I'm not sure if it's discrimination, but, you know, can you give me some advice on what I should be watching for, what I should be looking for? What should I go and read? What should I document? How should I track this? And a lot of times we'll tell a client, well, you know, that's one incident. That's not necessarily worth, you know, you filing a claim unless it's something really egregious. But I would say monitor it and make sure you're taking notes, and make sure that you're keeping some form of documentation indicating the time, the person who you believe was doing acts of discrimination. We do not tell people to run and file some form of an action the moment that you feel like you're being discriminated against. And of course, there's exceptions to that, because sometimes one act can be egregious and it's worth, you know, seeking that out. But we understand at least the basis of what discrimination is, understand the policies of your employer, and talk to someone if you're not sure, you can't get a grasp on it on Google, just to make sure that what you believe is discrimination is actually discrimination under the law and not just the feeling, even though your feeling may be right.
I love that. I love that. So listen, if you all are just tuning in, you're tuned in to Miss Carteia Basnight Esquire, who is the author of Stop Discrimination Now. We are talking about what is employment law, what are some steps that you should take if you feel that you've been discriminated against with at your employment office. And at the end of the day, contact Carteia Basnight Esquire, okay? Streaming at the bottom of the screen, we have www.basnightlaw.com. This is a website. She is Virginia's trusted employment law attorney. Yes, she is. She's a Title VII expert as well. So if you have questions about employment law, if you have questions about whether you've been discriminated against, if you have questions on whether you actually have a discrimination case, you can definitely reach out to her for a consultation for more information. But in the meantime, in between time, check out today's conversation because she's dropping the gems. So I have a question about you, a question for you for employers.
Mhm.
What can companies and organizations do to actually have a better sense of equality, or I guess a culture of equality in the workplace to help avoid some of these cases?
Right. One of the things is to really have a true open door policy, to have someone in the company or a department or a branch or whatever to really put time and effort in understanding culture and understanding the dynamics of culture and the interchangeable, of having a lot of employees in what I consider to be a melting pot, and giving a space for employees to be able to come in and talk about culture and talk about differences in culture, because what's offensive to me is not offensive to somebody else in another culture.
Right.
What is offensive to somebody else is not offensive to me in my culture. And so I think one of the biggest things when I see these cases or the discrimination comes up, sometimes it could have been avoided if somebody would have just listened. If the employer and the employee, and if there's another party involved, had come together and just had an honest conversation about what was happening and what was going on, one, they could have found that this really isn't discrimination. This may be a case of favoritism, or this may be a case of inherent bias. And one thing that I do touch on in the book is I believe we all have inherent biasness. And sometimes we're not even aware of it, and we're not aware of how it affects other people. And you could really mean no harm, but from culture, from environment, and different other factors, some things can come across as if it's discriminatory and really is not true discrimination. But when an employee feels like the employer is not hearing them or understanding how this person's behavior, even the employer's behavior, upper management's behavior, is affecting their workspace, their ability to carry out their job, their ability to feel comfortable at work, then typically people often feel like, well, my only recourse is filing some form of a discrimination act. If it's not, in another particular area of labor law. Some people feel like, well, my only recourse now is to file something that is on the basis of discrimination, and it's really not discrimination. And so I think it is just as important to make sure that employees have a safe space to talk about cultural differences and to be able to report when something comes across as offensive. I feel like when employers don't address things properly early on, or, as an employer, you have 1,000 things to do. You're not there to babysit. You're not necessarily there to be your employees' friends. You're not there to make sure that everybody in the stand is getting along. Everybody is there to do a job, and employers do have a lot on their plate already. So sometimes when something may seem insignificant, it can easily be brushed off. But it's those small things that then I've seen grow into chaos that causes then disorganization. And then you just have this chain reaction where now you have all of this confusion, you have all these people complaining, and before you know it, now people are filing, discrimination things like, oh, I was treated different, or my employer didn't listen to me, and this person was able to do that, or this person was able to talk to me any kind of way. And now an employer is forced to go through some form of an EEOC process. And really, it was all about understanding your employees. And again, even for employees, your employer is not there to babysit. But I do think that when you can dead things at the most early or level as possible, then you also don't see these types of things snowballing. And again, I go back to going to work. We spend as much time in our jobs as we do at home. And
Absolutely.
so something that can seem insignificant can really grow to be something that is unnecessary when people are not listened to, or when certain behaviors are not corrected or at least addressed.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm just going to put a call to action out here for any company, any corporation or organization. If you have any kind of inkling that there may be something brewing amongst your employees, right now is the time to contact Carteia Basnight Esquire to have her come in and actually give a presentation, to have a conversation. www.basnightlaw.com. All right. All right. So, Carteia, last question, because I think this is probably the question that most people will ask. How long do I have to wait before I seek counsel for, it's one thing to have a thought of this may be discrimination. It's one thing to Google, is this considered discrimination? But if I've done the work, if I've documented, the things that are happening, and I've done a consultation, when is the right time to actually hire an attorney to help you with this matter?
So different people are going to want to hire an attorney at different stages, but I tell people the moment that you really know you're ready to file something, even if that is internally with your job, because in the law, there's certain administrative prerequisites that certain employees have to go through before they can actually file a lawsuit. So you can't be discriminated against and just, the next day file a lawsuit. There's a process to this thing. And
Right.
So the moment that you're really going to go forward and, hey, I'm just not reporting to HR. I'm about to launch or file an actual complaint against my employer, even if it's at the in-house stage. I think that is the best time for people to hire an attorney. And even if you hire the attorney on the limited basis to walk you through it, one, they could help to kind of ensure that your complaint has a foundation in actual discrimination versus some other labor law that may apply to you. And then two, the attorney can then monitor from then on out the different things that happen at certain stages. And I've had clients contact and say, well, because these cases aren't cheap, right? So sometimes a client will say, okay, you walk me through that. You've given me the knowledge and the preliminary analysis. Let me go ahead and walk through this with my employer to see if we could come to some resolution in-house. And then sometimes once that doesn't work, then they'll say, okay, now it's time to go to the next level. I'm ready to hire an attorney now full on, where my employer now is for communicating directly with counsel. And now my counsel is taking the lead, and I am just providing my counsel information and showing up when my attorney tells me to. So I say the sooner the better. One, it can help you save you a lot of money, because it could be another area of labor law that applies to you outside of Title VII. And then two, if your attorney is in it from the beginning, they kind of have a idea of the progress, what's been submitted, what hasn't been submitted, what is the chance of resolution, what has the employer responded to, is this even worth taking the next step, or should you just try to come to some terms that this is going to be what it is, but at least now you've brought something to the employer's attention.
I love this. This has been really, really good, really informational for me, even though I'm no longer in the field to even experience this. But this has been eye-opening, and I hope that it's been eye-opening for those who are tuning in. Again, we're talking to Carteia Basnight today, Esquire, on her new book, Stop Discrimination Now, a guide to employee rights and remedies. And again, this is employment law. This is Title VII. This is what you should be doing, how you should be doing, but not just on the employee, but also for corporate America. These are some things, she shared that you could be doing to foster a better sense of community and cultural acceptance in your workplace. So Carteia, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been amazing. I appreciate your expertise and your transparency and sharing. So you all make sure you visit www.basnightlaw.com and get ready to grab your copy of Stop Discrimination Now. And if you're looking for a masterclass for your law firm, if you are an attorney and you're interested in learning more about Title VII, this is now the opportunity for you to reach out to basnightlaw.com to secure an opportunity to join the upcoming masterclass. But also any organization, corporate America, reach out to Carteia Basnight Esquire and have her to come in and have a conversation with your employees. This is the time now. And if you are an employee and feel that you have been discriminated against, now's the time to have that conversation just to understand whether it is or whether it isn't. And if it is, what your next step should be. So thank you all for tuning in. This has been amazing. I will see you all again soon.
Thank you, Tameka.